Okay, thank you. Welcome everybody. Thank you for all coming today again for our third class here in this 6-class series. Just to recap, the first class was on the metaphysics of the separation, or what is called the fall of man, or the story of the Garden in Eden. And in our second class, we covered the separated self, the false self, the lower self, which contained the personality, the persona, and the shadow, and all the defenses around the separated self. And today, what we're going to talk about, our relationships. And, you know, it's in the relationships that all the good stuff happens. All right, that's where all our forgiveness lessons, that's where all our projections, and that's where all our judgments are contained in all our relationships. So just to give you an idea of what this is about, anybody? Jenny, tell me your relationships. How many relationships have you got?
Oh, infinite. I mean, every interaction, is that considered a relationship?
No, I'm talking about you.
Oh. So am I. No, I mean, so just intimate relationships we're talking about?
Okay. Is that the type of relationship you think I'm talking about? Anybody else?
Yeah.
Anybody knows, don't answer.
Well, I could guess.
Or anybody that I told. Right, Julie.
I'm gonna guess just one.
Wow, okay. All right, so you've just got one relationship.
Nobody out there.
And do you see people out there?
You have to direct which. Do you want me to answer what I see in the illusion? I sure do.
You definitely
Yes.
have to.
Yes.
You know, one thing about this is you're asked very clearly to do, and a lot of people say this, and it's very convenient, but it's a case of denial. There's nobody out there. If you see somebody out there, there's somebody out there. You have to stay loyal to the level that you're at. And if you're in a body, don't deny what you see. Because that's what we're doing all the time. We're projecting onto people. We deny that projection. We see them doing or saying something, and now we just blame that person. We don't realize that it's our projection. Why is it our projection? Because we reacted to it. So everything you react to is a projection of your own. So, relationships. Anybody else want to come in?
I have lots of relationships.
Give me one.
People I work with here, Sandy, my friends Diane.
Yeah.
I'm in a relationship with you right now. Lots of people.
So you are in a relationship with me.
And right now we're interacting.
Yeah, we're interacting.
I have reactions, projections, feelings, thoughts, opinions are all coming out.
Yeah, but you see, who's having a relationship with you?
Who's having a relationship with you, with me? Well, I imagine you are having a relationship with me at the moment.
No,
as we're talking.
no. You, I'm talking about.
What's the question again? Who's having a relationship with me?
Yeah.
I'm having a relationship with me, in a sense.
Right, and what's that relationship? We're going here. I'm not interested in the relationships that you have with the people around you. Okay? They're secondary. They're way down the scale. You have far more important relationships to deal with first before you can start dealing with the relationships of everybody around you. Isn't this true?
So you're
Okay.
talking about husband, wife?
No! I'm not talking about you and another person.
Just
You see, the problem with the world is this. All right, we have several relationships, but no one knows what those relationships are. And because we don't know these relationships, we go into relationships with other people. They don't know who they are. We don't know who we are. So it's kind of like two strangers hitting and missing all the time, whether they're going to get on, whether they're not going to get on, whether they're going to have likes, whether they're going to have dislikes. So that's true.
Right, so you're saying you have to find yourself first.
Yes.
Right.
The problem is,
It's hard.
you're in 7 relationships.
Oh boy.
Let's save it for someone else.
No! You see, again, you're going into the fragments here. I want to go into the whole, what the relationship is about. So can anybody give me one that you're in a relationship with?
I'm in a relationship with my mind.
Now we're kicking dust.
And the body.
That's now
Thoughts.
we're kicking dust.
Thoughts?
No, because
It's the mind.
whatever mind you're in, that's the relationship. The thoughts are an effect of the relationship you have with that mind. Okay? So, it took a while. Okay, but I think that was a very worthwhile exercise. Because most people would have been looking at this here, maybe seen it up there, and they would have thought it was about all the relationships, the special relationship, the holy relationship. These are all inside these relationships. Do you know? So our very first relationship is with who? In this world now I'm talking about.
Ourself.
The body.
The body.
The body is our first port of call because our body is the conduct that now picks up all the signals from the world, from the environment, all the senses come into play. Okay, all the senses come into play, and the body now becomes the minds go between the mind and the world. Yeah? The body is how the mind experiences the world.
Yep.
Okay. Now, most people think that the brain thinks, that the brain feels, that the brain sees, that the brain hears. This is not true. Okay? Where does all of those basically be interpreted?
In the mind.
Yes. The mind does the interpretation. Okay? The body is just the vessel that it's kind of like a holograph. Okay? You know, in the holograph you have a lens. And the source of the light or the holograph goes through the lens and is projected out. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we are. We're the conduct or the conduct for the hologram, the mind, to project through us. And just like a hologram, when the mind projects through us, we fragment that with our eyes. And now we see everything separate. Isn't this true? You know the way a hologram. All right. When you put it out, all of a sudden it's all fragmented everywhere. Okay. We were at the cinema and we seen this light and the hologram, and it was over Christmas. We went to it, and there were just millions of little lights all around outside the theatre on the pavement and everything. They're all coming from one little hologram light. It was beautiful. So you had one light, and it was fragmented billions of times. And that's what we're seeing through. Okay, that's what the body is. Remember what the Course says on this, right? The body doesn't see anything. The body doesn't hear anything. The body can't feel anything. Everything the body's eyes see is always because it's something that it desires to see. There's another beautiful line in the Course that says, there's nothing as blinding as the perception of form. So think about that a moment. That means what we see with the body's eyes literally blinds us from the truth of what's out there. So, our first relationship is with the body, and we believe we are that body. We believe the body is our home, it is us. So if everything that we just talked about there in the body, all right, we are left under the illusion, right, that we're in charge of the body. Aren't we? We believe what we see, it's us interpreting it. We believe what we taste, it's us in this body that's doing the interpretation. Isn't this true?
Mm-hmm.
So, from straight away, we come into this world and we're basically hoodwinked the moment we come into it. Alright, I'm going to come back to the body. What's our next relationship?
Mother?
Mother. We're not talking about relationships outside. We're talking about the relationships that you have that's not basically in, you know, like other people.
With the mind?
So the first relationship that we have when we come into the world is with the body. The second one is,
Could it be the mind?
well, we'll get to that, but it's not the second one.
Oh.
What's the body in perfect relationship with?
The world?
The world. Because now, once we're born into the body becomes us.
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there's an eraser on the other side.
Yeah.
Down below.
There it
Or
is,
down
right
below,
there.
yeah.
Okay. Now, once we're come into the world, we're in the body. We believe the body is us, and next thing, the body's chief ally in this world is the world itself. Why?
Because that's what we're experiencing with our senses.
Yes.
And that's what we project onto?
Yes. But
That's
what
right.
does all of that tell us?
What's inside, what's really within us?
No. Something more fundamental.
It makes us feel like we are separate from the world.
Yes, it does make that, yeah. But ultimately, yeah.
Well, could we say, it makes us think or feel as if we are in the world instead of the world is in us, or
Very
in our
good, Julie.
mind.
Very good. Very good. All of these are true, but a more fundamental building block for something is happening here. Between the relationship between these two.
Well, there's some things in the world that create pleasure and some things that will cause pain.
Yes, yes, but that's not what I'm looking for. You could say it's the most fundamental relationship between these two. They rely on this one thing very, very heavily. And I'm just giving you pausing here for a moment to allow you to think on this, because you do have the answer.
It's not ego?
No? Reality. The body confirms the world's reality. The world confirms the body's reality. It's a friendship made in hell.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And it's a partnership that cannot be broken. Because once it's broken, what happens?
Illusion.
Both disappear.
What disappears?
The world and the
And
body. In your body, basically transcends, there's no world anymore. And when there's no world, there's no body. So the both of these basically, and I talked about this at one of my very earliest workshops. And I says to people about this world being an illusion. This world is not an illusion. Why?
Because we're experiencing it?
Yes. Who can make the statement that this world is an illusion? You see, people are reading in A Course in Miracles and many other books of spirituality, yeah, this world is an illusion. And then people can write, well, there's nobody really out there. Now, right, Julie, you're not the first to say that. If I had a penny for every time someone said that,
Right,
do you know, I would be a very rich person. Do you know?
right.
Only somebody who's transcended the world, and you can see that
Yeah.
it's an illusion.
You see, ultimately in this, you have to basically come from the perspective that this world is very real to the body. As long as you believe that you're a body, it's only delusional of you to think that this world is an illusion. Now, if you were looking at this world from outside this world, then you would see that it's an illusion. But you can only say that if you have a direct experience yourself of something else that's real. Yeah? So the reason why I'm saying this is to get out of jail cards like saying there's nobody else out there or this world is an illusion. It's very real to the body. So stay with that reality until you have an experience of something that transcends that reality. Because trying to basically avoid the reality of this world as it stands is a defense, which will keep you stuck.
I have a question. If okay, you go to the experience where you break the partnership between the world and the body, and you don't, see there disappear, can you still be here or not? Is that when you are not kind of disappear, or?
Right, well, you're jumping the gun a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, because I'm going to get to that.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're going to get to that, so I'm not going to answer it now.
Okay,
because
sure.
basically what I want to do is just set what today's about, is just to do these relationships, because I'm just giving you a brief one of what our relationships are with, actually.
Well, my question was, and maybe it falls in the same category as my friend Sandy here, is that why is it I'm listening to you and I'm going, yet I totally believe it. And the reason I would answer a question sometimes and say, well, there's nobody out there, it's like to get into my mind,
Yeah,
to try to find those
Step back from
glasses
the world,
that
yeah.
see it that way.
yeah,
Am I seeing it that way right now? No.
yeah.
So my question is, why is it, and we all have, I'm assuming we all have, 'cause I don't think I'm special, so I think we all have those glimpses. It could be the blink of an eye, it could be 5 minutes, where we totally understand what you're saying. It's like, we're here but we're not here, and you get it, and then, I don't know, the phone rings, the dog barks, name
Yeah.
anything, and you lose it.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, where'd it go, where'd it go, where'd it go, you know? How'd I get there, where'd it go?
Yeah.
Why does that happen? Is that
Because what you're,
real with a capital R, or an illusion
you
within
see-
the illusion?
you see what's happening there, and this is a kind of a fundamental error a lot of people try to do with this, especially with the Course in Miracles, and this is why I break it down into the levels.
Right, I appreciate
What they're trying to do, you're trying to hold the present moment in its entirety. Okay? When you're trying to do that. What you're trying to do is go from level 1 to level 3. You're trying to take your defenses, your attachments, your coping mechanisms, your persona and your shadow into that space also. But you are so powerful that you could probably do that in that space, but it's almost impossible to hold it.
To
Because
hold it,
your
right.
attachments to everything keeps pulling you outside.
Okay.
So what people do is they'll go away to India for a month into an ashram. Beautiful. They can basically now manipulate the environment, so now that manipulates their mind. But the problem is when all hell breaks loose, that's where you do the work.
That's the class.
That's the class.
Hell is the
So
class.
what you have to do here, you have to break the whole thing down and just deal with where you're at. So it's like, right, we're going to go down the list here, and on down the list there's a few other relationships that we have that you'll see. Now here's the error. People are trying to have relationships with all of these here, but they don't have the relationship sorted out here at the beginning. Do you know what I mean? Like, these have to be sorted out first. Because when you, Jody, start now to work from the base up, from the ground up, build a solid foundation in all your relationships, now you're going to basically hold everything that you acquire from then on. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
The more understanding, the more that you're aware of your environment and who's perceiving your environment, then you do no big deal, you just let it happen, but you observe yourself in those situations now. So first of all, you become the observer. You have to recognize your behavior first, because you can't do anything about anything until you become aware of it. Isn't that true? So we have to become
Right.
aware of it. So what we're doing today is you have to become aware of what in these relationships mean, what they're truly all about. Because you have to have an individual understanding of each one and encompass that understanding of each one. You can't do the whole lot at the one time. In other words, and that's what a lot of people are trying to do here. You know, when you were in that lovely space, what you had all of these in that kind of oneness. You know, you're forcing all of these into that tiny space of the now. And you were able to do it, but it was just went like that again. Do you know what I mean? Like, so everything went. So if you can understand each of these and what they're all about, that'll bring them all together much slower. But when they come together, they'll start coming together and stay. Do you know? Because what's bringing them all together now is understanding, not force. The ego thought system works on two energies, force and resistance. Every time you force something, you will meet the exact same opposite resistance. Okay, so it's like someone who wants to lose weight. Okay, they're forcing the body now into starvation. Okay, they'll do that for a particular period of time, and all of a sudden that goes again. And this is why people are fluctuating in their diets. They're going up and down and up and down, and they get maybe in a year's time, oh, I'll try this one. It's a new diet. The effect is different, but the content is the same. You're still trying to force yourself to do something. As long as you force yourself to do anything, you're giving energy to the ego to use that energy and resistance straight back at you. Yeah? So again, we're going to just run through these first of all. What's the next one?
Mind. Mind, the separated.
Huh?
The split mind.
The split mind. Okay?
One question quickly.
Go ahead,
You
Brandon.
said something about give energy to the ego. Could you give me a little more detail on that? I'm a little
How you feed the ego.
That's how you feed the ego.
Yeah. Every time that you would have a guilty thought, you give energy to the ego. Every time you're afraid of anything, you give energy to the ego. Anytime that you make anything real in this world, you give energy to the ego. So the ego is nothing without your energy. We have been unconsciously feeding the ego ravishly for a long time, but we never knew we were doing it. So we don't have that excuse anymore. So it's like this, and I was talking to you, Brando, about this earlier on, and I just want to do this now again, right? The world, okay, is a big apple. Okay? And it's in the Garden of Eden, which is this physical universe. And every time that you seek outside yourself, you take a giant bite out of that apple. And then you blame somebody else for it. Okay, so what I'm saying here, that's a metaphor for every time that we seek outside ourselves, okay, we take a bite of the apple. So, in the Course, Jesus says, when it's questioned, why did we choose the ego back then? And he says, why are you worried why you chose the ego back then when you're still choosing the ego now? So the same thing applies. Why is everybody worried about the Garden of Eden and the apple when you're still eating the fucking apple today? Every single time you seek yourself, you go. And now, fear and guilt, the same thing as the story of the Garden of Eden comes up, and your first reaction is to blame someone, usually a woman. Okay, but that's the same principle that's happened now. That second in the Garden of Eden, where that apple was at, is the same second every time that you seek outside yourself. And then what happened after that? Adam hid in shame. He hid in among the trees. And what he was really doing was the guilt of eating the apple. So what happens to us? We seek outside ourselves, into the world, okay? We take a bite of the apple, we feel guilty, we feel fearful, and then we hide in shame.
And then we what?
Hide in shame.
Shame.
Shame. So that's what we're all doing here. Every single day, how many bites of the apple are you eating? Okay, because here it is. The body, okay, the body, which would be the mouth, the world, which is the apple, all right? So the body eats the apple from the mind of the tree, which is good and evil, right and wrong, the split mind. So you can see that's the Garden of Eden in those first three there.
When you say feeding the ego or giving power to the ego, my ego sometimes takes total control over me, it feels like, and it feels like I have no control, and I'm at its mercy and in its clutches, and it's in charge, and I am watching it and aware of this, and it is so intense that I feel like I have no control over it.
Yeah, that's the effects of the energy that you have given to the ego.
That I willingly, voluntarily gave
No.
to my ego?
No. Would you have done that willingly?
No.
No. You see, what gets us into trouble and what's the ego's biggest weapon against us, what is it?
Guilt?
No. Guilt's nothing. What's the biggest weapon the ego has
We're
against us?
unconscious, we're not aware.
Or unawareness. We don't even know we're denying.
But I am aware. I can watch it.
Yes, but the
And it
problem.
still feels
Yeah.
like it's in charge.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who's the watcher? You see, there's only you as the actor in the body, and you have forgotten that you're basically acting in the body. And there's you, the observer. Okay? So, remember there's two observers. The ego also mimics the observer's role. There's the observer, the true observer, and then there's the ego's observer. Now, what's the difference between the two? Okay?
Well, the ego or mind is always judging and evaluating and deciding what it wants and doesn't want. It overlays that on what it's seeing
Yeah. So how does it move into the observer status?
by being quiet.
Denial. Okay?
What?
Denial. It goes quiet.
Mhm.
So basically what it is, it goes into a state of denial now of judgment.
The ego does.
Yes.
But that's just stuffing it, right?
Yes. And that's what a lot of people who told me they were doing the observer, they weren't doing the observer. They thought they were watching their ego. It wasn't. The ego was watching their ego.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that out because I've had that experience and I've asked myself, well, is it like the real self or
Yeah.
that right, the ego playing tricks again because it's a tricky little bastard.
It is. And it says that in the course. Okay, so how do we know the difference? How do we sort out which observer is true? So, when you were observing yourself, what were you observing?
Guilt,
Okay,
fear,
okay,
judgment,
yeah,
none of which I enjoy or want,
okay,
but it has such ferocity.
okay.
It's so ferocious. It's so willful. It has
Yeah,
a mind of its own that it consumes me.
I have good news for you.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't the observer. Okay, what you were doing in all of that instant, you were given a steady stream of energy to the ego. You have been hoodwinked. Because the observer looks through the eyes of who? The higher self, or Christ self. The same eyes that God looks through. So what was the problem with the story that has just been told?
Well, if we're reacting to what we see, then that's the ego.
Yes. The observer doesn't pick a side, doesn't see good or bad, doesn't see right or wrong.
No, I sometimes am in that neutral place, but I observe.
But if you're looking at your guilt,
Yeah.
then you should be forgiving it in yourself. You shouldn't be observing it. There's a process to do with that because what you're looking at is the attachment to the thought of guilt that you have projected onto yourself or someone else.
Yeah.
So by looking at it, all you're doing is giving it attention. By giving it attention, you're energizing it. That's why it says to you. That's how the ego seems so powerful against you, is because by you looking at that thought, you're crucifying yourself. Remember, you are still outside yourself. The body is outside yourself, the world is outside yourself, and the split mind is outside yourself. And like Jody said earlier on, we actually think we're in the world, but all of these are inside us because these are all inside the mind. So all I would say to you in that, what you were doing, just a few little tweaks on it, and you're flying. Okay?
But I'm not fine when this is happening.
But that's the point. You know, the whole point of this discomfort that's coming into your body
Yeah.
has always been in there. And it's about letting it go. All you were doing was you were bringing it into awareness and you were holding it there. You weren't actually doing the process of letting it go.
Well, it feels like the ego refuses to let it go and won't let me let
No,
it go.
but you see, you're not your ego.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You are the separated self inside the ego thought system. So what you have to do first is you have to figure out who you are and who the ego is. Okay? You have to literally separate from the ego thought system.
How do you do that?
Well, we kind of covered that in the last class,
Mm-hmm.
but I can give you the information for that. But we're not going to, because we covered it the last class, we're not going to go over that again today. So I just want to move on here quickly because it's going to take us a long time. Right, the split mind. Okay, the mind of right and wrong and good and evil. Okay? Now, do you see the common denominator now? Here. With these three. Right? The body, you look at your body. Is there good and bad in it? Is there right things in it and is there wrong things in it?
We think so.
Yes, because we are perceiving the body with this mind. Let's look at the world. Okay? Is there good and bad in the world? Is there right and wrong in the world?
Seems so.
Why?
We think so.
Why?
Because our mind divides everything up.
Because we're perceiving from this mind. Okay? Everything that we perceive, everything that we feel, everything that we taste, all of it comes from the split mind of good and evil, right and wrong. Now, in that mindset, there's no neutrality. Okay? There's no neutrality. You can't look at the world and say, oh, I don't really mind that. I don't really have an opinion on that. When you don't make a choice, who chooses?
The ego.
Yeah. So when you don't have an opinion on something, you don't make a choice on something, you believe that you're basically being neutral on this, all right? It's impossible. You're only deluding yourself. You're in denial of what you really think about either the world or another person or yourself. You can't have any neutral thoughts about the body. You can't have any neutral thoughts about the world, even though both of them are neutral. The body is completely neutral. Why?
It's a conduit for sensations.
It basically does whatever the mind is attached to. So the mind, the body is the slave, you could say, to the mind that it is the conduit.
But what about genetic memory from the ancestors?
It's still coming from a mind. So, like we're going to do now, there's several mindsets. Okay? So again, we're going to come back to that. What's our fourth relationship? What's our next relationship?
The right mind?
The right mind. Or, as it's called in A Course in Miracles, the Holy Spirit. So why is the right mind called the Holy Spirit? Anybody?
it's closer to God. It's like an intercessory, I don't know.
The voice
It's
of
a
God.
Western
The community.
symbol, Christian symbol. But what does it really mean? If you were to look at this and put it into Eastern philosophy or into metaphysical,
Higher self.
nope.
It's not attached to.
No, it's called the Holy Spirit. It's in the name. Whole.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay? So it's right-minded thinking. Okay? It's the correction for wrong-minded thinking. So if you have a thought, and that thought is basically not very nice, and we all have these thoughts, okay? There's a correction for it. The only way that you're going to let that thought go is to correct it. So how do we correct thoughts? Seriously?
hand them over to the Holy Spirit, hand it to our right mind, no? Oh, no to you.
Sorry, Joe.
Hand them over to Holy Spirit, give the thought to our right
That's a
mind.
bit chicken shit, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you know.
That's what the Course tells us to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
And my,
First of all, if you really want to do this, there's a process going through this. You can go through the course the slow way, or you can go through the course
Fast.
the fast way. Where you're going to end up here at this point anyway. So what this is really all about, people who are starting out the course, yes, we give it to the Holy Spirit. But ultimately, when you go up through the levels, when you reach level 3, what that means is you're going to see the truth in that thought. That's what giving it to the Holy Spirit means, because the Holy Spirit from the right mind will look at that thought and reinterpret it. And that's what we're asked to do with all thoughts. That's how we correct all thoughts. We reinterpret them.
right, but isn't, I say in my mind, choose again, sister.
Yes.
And that's,
Yeah.
the interpretation is handed over to Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have Holy Spirit's
Yeah.
address, it's
Yeah.
hypothetical.
And that's basically perfect at level 1.
Yeah,
But when you get to level 2, what are you handing over? Where did that thought come from? Why did you choose that thought? You must answer all these thoughts, because if you don't, you're going to choose that thought again. And what's going to happen, because you're in level 1, you're going to be handing over and handing over and handing over until one day you see the truth in the thought for yourself. Because remember, the whole purpose is this, is for you to go to the right mind. Yeah? You're going to end up in the right mind. Okay? So you're going to start seeing what the right mind sees, the Holy Spirit sees. Isn't that right?
yeah,
So every thought that you have, there's a way that you can see it for yourself right now. You can see the truth in it. Okay? So when you have thoughts about the body, you're seeing the truth in it. You have thoughts about the world. What we're going to do here today is how the Holy Spirit sees all of this. Okay? We have to learn to empower ourselves. That's what the whole thing's about. So that means if you keep handing stuff over to the Holy Spirit without properly looking at what you're handing over, okay, you're never going to grow up. Because enlightenment, which starts on level 3, is where you start to see the truth in everything for yourself now. Okay, and remember what Jesus says in the Course about the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit does not seize error, but does not react to it. It has no investment in it. Okay? So, the right mind, we'll get to that. What's your next relation?
So the right mind, we want to expose our projections and our judgments, see what they're doing, and then let it go. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
what we're going to do the process now in a minute, but what we're going to do is we're going to basically become the right mind ourselves.
Uh-huh.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what right-minded means.
Okay.
Because you have to have an understanding of the relationship that you have with all of these. Because you have to prepare yourself for each relationship. That's what it's all about. So if you're not right-minded now, it means you're not ready to be right-minded, so you prepare yourself. When you go into the next one, what does that answer it? But
We're gonna come back to it.
we're going to come back to it. That was it. So the next one, we'll quickly go through these. Number 5. No. All right. Anyway, what's our next relationship? Not there.
Higher self.
Huh?
Higher self.
Very good.
Balloons, confetti comes from the sea.
I'm glad someone's studying.
Okay.
There's no judgment there.
And the higher self has a relationship, there's two parts to the higher self. Okay? So the higher self itself has two relationships going on. It's the only, you could say it's the center of the universe, the higher self. Okay? Because it's at the midway place. Okay? So here you have basically the split mind, the body, and the world. Okay? So that's those three there, and those three dimensions. That's the first three that we have relationships with in awareness. Our fourth relationship then is with the right mind. Our next relationship is with the higher self. So you could say that the higher self has two relationships. Okay? The higher self has a relationship with everything that's underneath it and everything that's up above it. Okay? You see, people put in the yin and the yang as the symbol for the higher self. I fell into that trap too. That's where I thought it was. Because two becomes one. Okay? So what the two becomes one at this level means is when the below and the above become one world. Which is the only real world, which is here. Okay? Everything below that point here will one day disappear. Everything below this point is illusionary. It's in perception. It's within the dream. Okay? So, their part of your higher self has a relationship with your next relationship. Who's your sixth relationship with?
Jesus. One mind, Jesus.
What? Who's Jesus?
One mind.
Us.
Christ. Not Jesus. Christ. Christ is only a symbol for this world in complete oneness. Christ is everything in this physical universe. It's every planet, every star, every energy. It's in this world, it's every bird, every animal. Everything here is all connected as Christ.
It's a symbol for everything
That you see
In this universe.
in this universe.
What about other universes?
Basically, this envelops everything. When I'm talking about the physical universe, everything that was in the mind is in the physical universe. This one and many other dimensions and so on. Don't worry about that. If you can get it in your mind about, this one, that's a pretty big.
But you said it's a symbol for everything in oneness or something? What did you?
Yes, it's basically what it is. Christ is us as one. And we as one at the Big Bang, that's what the Big Bang was, that oneness shattered into fragmentation at the Big Bang. And that means that us as one fragmented into many different forms. That table is a part of you. What's the difference between the table and you?
Perception.
Enlightenment. The table's already enlightened. Okay? Why are we not enlightened?
Because we keep attaching ourselves to
No,
this.
because we keep unenlightening ourselves.
That's why.
How did the table get enlightened?
Huh?
How did
Because the table's in a state of being. It has no thoughts. When your enlightenment begins, that's going to be the beginning and the end of your thinking. There's a beautiful line in the Course, and I love it, where Jesus says, the problem is not what you think, the problem is that you think.
Okay, but where does awareness come into it?
Huh?
So when you're enlightened, you're in a state of being, but there's no awareness?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. You're not aware of the specific. You're not aware of a fragment.
Right.
You're only aware that every fragment contains the whole. So you're basically in a state of being now, in a state of bliss. But now you're bliss. If you say in a state of bliss, and I was to focus, say, on a specific, on a part, and to see that as a part, a fragment, then I just lose the bliss instantaneously. Because now I'm looking through a different eye. So in the state of bliss, what happens is you go into an envelopment of everything. The best way I could describe this would be this. You might have a lot of questions now, and then you think, right, I'm going to go into this mindset, I'm going to get, and you're told you'll get all your answers to every question that you have. You're going to hear that. You're going to know that. And then you move into this energy, into this state of bliss. And what happens now? You have no questions.
Yeah, questions. Right.
Because you are everything and you know everything.
Yeah.
It's nothing specific. There's no lack. There's nothing you need to do. There's nowhere you need to go. There's nothing you need to know.
Yeah. And then you come out of that state and you're frustrated because the questions are still there and you didn't get the answers.
Yes. But who's frustrated? Because in here is the real you, and out here is the separated self that is as ignorant and like a plank compared to. So the greatest strength the ego has against you is your unawareness. The more ignorant that you are, the more energy you give to the ego. When you start to waken up, that's why now you start withdrawing your energy of feeding the ego, because now you're aware of, I ain't pulling into that gas station anymore. Okay? So, and that's what our coping mechanisms do also, to feed the ego.
You gave us a really good definition of the Christ, but then when I was writing it down, you went so fast. It was sort of like a symbol for everything as seen from the perspective of oneness? Was
yes,
that what,
yes.
That was it?
Yes, yeah, that's it. Basically, you're just one with everything. And if you can think of everything in this physical universe, it all came to one, take out the form, it's just one big ball of energy. Put it like this, right? You think now, right, for example, there's no space between me and you, Jenny. All right, I could throw this marker to you now, hit you, and everybody is under the delusion there's nothing between me and you. That's the greatest delusion of all. Because there's energy, and we're inside that energy, manifesting inside that energy. But there's energy connected between me and you. There's like a big spider's web in this room, right at this second. But you can't see it. Okay? And we're transferring energy to each other through these channels. Now you can put anything through these channels, but because it's metaphysical energy, it has no effect. So it's kind of like, a hologram on a hologram, and you can go with the light, you can put all right, you can break the light and everything. But that's what's happening between all of us. There's a hologram of energy between every one of us in this room. But our eyes can't see it. That's what Jesus meant. There's nothing as blinding as the perception of form. Every single one of us in this room is connected. And we can't break that connection. So, again, no matter what the energy I give to you, you're me. Roy's me. Everybody here is me, and that's why I treat everybody as me. You can't go wrong with that. But if I was to look at you from you, or you from you, then I would start to treat you from that perspective. Yeah? So from the Christ self, basically we're all one here, but because of the way we see and feel and everything, the whole setup here, we all believe we're separate. And what I think of you has no effect on me. What I think of you, right, is energy. Okay? So I'm giving you energy, which you're me, and you mirror it back and reflect it back to me. So whatever I give, I receive. Simple as that. You can't break that. Cause and effect.
Yeah, I have a friend Diana, I have a friend who's very psychic, and a perfect example of that. Sometimes she can see, well, I think you've seen it too, like a tube, like a line between people, and if there's like hate, she'll see like arrows or throwing arrows. If there's love, like hearts or something. That's just her perception of
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
that's
And you know, and the sooner we wake up to that idea that we are all one, like, you know, our lives will be a lot better. So our last and final relationship is with who?
Oneness.
One.
God, heaven. It's where Christ and God become one in a state of oneness. So you have God plus Christ equals heaven. Or oneness. And this is the only state that there truly is. Okay? So, there you can see the pyramid now of relationships that you have. Is there anybody in the room that knew this? Apart from the person that I told.
Apart from the person that made all the Xeroxes.
Okay? So, where do we start?
The body.
Yeah. Where does normally everybody else start? Or here. Or here. Or here. Very rarely here. Not so much here, but never here. So what happens if you don't deal with the body first? And you start to have relationships or try to...
Doesn't work.
It can't work.
No. Because you're attached.
It's ridiculous.
So therapy cannot work, right?
No, what I'm saying to you is, for a start, look at these three here. Who is this? Who is it?
That's the conventional person, the conventional self, the ego.
Which is the ego. Yeah? When you're unconscious, this is the manifestation of the ego. Yeah. You become a spokesperson for the ego. You're looking through the eyes of right and wrong and good and bad. You will use judgment now to persecute yourself by crucifying all the bad people in the world. Now, are we agreed on that? Anybody want to contest that? Yeah? Here's the fundamental error. Who then is trying to have a relationship with the right mind? Who's trying to have a relationship with the higher self? Who's trying to have a relationship with Christ? And who's trying to get to heaven?
the ego.
Simple, isn't it? This is what's frustrating for people in spirituality today. They don't know this. You could basically do this for 1,000 years, but still your ego trying to have a relationship with God, which is the darkness trying to have a relationship with light. What happens when the two come together?
Gray.
It does, it gets very grey for us, but it doesn't get grey for the light. Okay, when you take darkness into light, basically the darkness disappears. It vanishes, and what's just very traumatic for the darkness. So that means if you're in a body and you believe, right, that you're ready, okay, you're ready for an experience now, and you're sitting there, okay, and you're saying, right, Jesus, come to me. I'm ready for you. Come on, bring it on. Bring it on.
Oh, he's now converted to fundamentalist Christianity. Yeah.
So you're in the body and you're saying, come on, I want the experience. What's the problem with that? What's the problem? Why will Jesus not come in and give you the experience?
Because you would probably go crazy.
Because you're sitting in darkness.
Not
Yeah,
ready.
yeah.
And you're asking for this big light to come in. And imagine darkness there and I put a torchlight on it. Wow. And we believe
You're
that
gonna
we're
need
the darkness
sunglasses.
because we don't know who we are. Okay? That's the problem that people have. And what are they doing then? They're projecting on to either Jesus or God or whatever, like, look at all I'm doing for you, and you wouldn't even show me a sign. So imagine just a little sign. You know, that's not asking much, isn't it, Brando? Just show me a sign. Just a little spot of light. When you put a little spot of light into any darkness, all the darkness disappears. It's never the same again. So that's why people don't get little signs here. Okay? Where's the first symbol or sign that we can meet? Where can we truly have an experience? Our first experience. We must go to here. We must go to the next level. Okay? Because we can't have experiences when we don't know what these relationships are with ourselves. Okay? Now, is that happy? Can I rub this out now, yeah?
Yeah.
So, we have, first of all, the first three primary relationships to sort out. The mind, the body, and the world. Okay? So, we have the world, we have the body, and we have the split mind. Okay? So, the body is attached to the split mind. The body is attached to the world. The world is attached to the split mind. Yeah? So you can see the dynamics that's going on between these three. So, the mind has a thought. Well, let's say it's a good thought. And then there's the bad thoughts. Or the wrong thoughts. Right. Okay? And this is you here. Personality. Okay? And this, so, these are the two rooms in our lives. We have the good room and we have the bad room. We have everything that's right in this world and we have everything that's wrong in this world. Okay? Those are the only thoughts that we are thinking. So where's your thoughts?
Both.
No, I'm asking, where's your thoughts?
Both.
Is this you?
You don't.
It is.
That's about the most honest answer anybody ever said. Right, who's this?
It's who we
Separated
think-
mind.
It's
Oh, but
who,
who's it in reality?
it's who we think we are.
Yeah, but who is it? That's what I'm asking.
The separated self. Separated self.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Just stay with the mind at the moment, the split mind. Who is the split mind?
It's an illusion.
It's the ego. So the ego has good thoughts, the ego has bad thoughts, the ego has right thoughts, the ego has wrong thoughts. Alright? So this, I'll go back and I'll ask the question again. Alright, this is you. Where is your thoughts? These thoughts belong to the ego. Where's your thoughts?
You don't have thoughts.
Are you making a distinction between ego and your?
everybody in this room now at this moment in time, right? Have you got any thoughts that belong to you? You see, we believe that the thoughts we think and we are and us are one. That's one of the biggest traps we'll ever fall into. Because when I say to people when I do psychotherapy, like, you know, who are you talking about? Me! And who? Me! Sometimes I have to just keep asking that question until the penny drops. So, we have these thoughts, and these are basically attached to our mind all the time. These thoughts are not our thoughts. They belong to the ego thought system. That's why it's called the ego thought system. Because that's what it is. It's a system of thoughts. That's what the ego is. Alright? And if there's no neutral thoughts, none whatsoever.
What is a neutral thought?
You can't have a thought that means nothing. It's either one or the other. It's either good or bad, or right or wrong.
So what's a neutral thought? It's not a thought.
Something that would be neither.
No judgment. No judgment.
No judgment.
Well, how about
How's
that
that
wall
thought?
is green?
Yeah?
That's a neutral thought, right?
The wall is green.
Yeah.
No, you're putting a positive onto an object. Or you're putting
Why is that positive though?
Or the
it's not a
traffic.
positive, no.
Or the traffic.
An adjective onto an
Well, the
object.
traffic light is now red.
Yeah. But is it neutral?
Well, it's not good or bad.
Huh?
It's not good or bad. It
Well,
just is.
it's bad if you wanted to get across
Yeah.
the intersection.
It's a thought all the
Or if
same.
you get a
If you
ticket
now
for
were going,
going
like
through.
Roy says, if you were going to cross, then that's either good or bad for you. It's either right or wrong.
So thoughts are thoughts.
Yes.
Okay, how about Roy's top has a blue stripe on it?
Is that good or bad for you?
I'm neutral about that.
Okay. All right. What we're really talking about here, I know where this is going, is we're talking about effects. What I'm talking about is content. All right? What's the difference between form and content?
Form is the universal, content changes.
No. Content is always in the mind. Form is always the expression of the content in the physical. So the body is form. The world is form. Anything that's tangible is form. Anything in the mind is content.
Oh.
So when I'm talking about thoughts, and I should have said this at the beginning, I'm talking about content. And the only content that we have while we're asleep and unconscious in the world is this mind. And there's no neutral thoughts within this mind. So what happens here is this mind is now projected onto the world. All right? And now the world becomes this.
When you say now, wasn't the world always split though?
No, the world's neutral. I'll show you why.
Oh, okay.
Why the world becomes this now is this. Okay? Is because the mind that came into operation 40,000 years ago, remember we talked about it, Neanderthal man. Neanderthal man had no sense of what was right or wrong, what was good or bad. So the world was completely neutral. It's neutral to every animal in this world. Okay? So when our mind split, when Homo sapiens came into play 40,000 years ago, the two rooms came in of right and wrong and good and bad. This was vital for our evolution because Neanderthal man couldn't make the distinction to move forward by working out what he was doing wrong. Okay? So this was a very necessary occurrence for us. But now, okay, now we have been doing that for the last 40,000 years, and that's why this world is the mess that it is. If this whole world is one and we're splitting it into two of good and bad and right and wrong, we're trying to sever it, we're trying to get rid of all the bad. We're doing this in the world, and we're doing it in the mind, and we're doing it in the body. Okay? You have good and bad in the body. You have what's right in the body, you have what's wrong in the body. And if you could, you'd get rid of everything that's bad and everything that's wrong. Okay? So you can see now the commonality.
Commonality. Commonality.
Yeah. See how everything's common now between all three. Alright. The world is good and bad, the body is good and bad, and the mind's good and bad. Can everybody relate to this?
Yeah.
This literally becomes our world. Yeah? It literally becomes our world. As long as we're unconscious, as long as we just adhere to it, as long as we keep giving the ego energy, as long as we're giving our good thoughts energy, our bad thoughts energy, and then as long as we keep arguing over who's right and who's wrong. Okay? So, all of those things keep us unconscious and in these three relationships. So, what's the cure? Because it just didn't bring you all bad news.
Yeah, there's the good news.
So, like everything here that we're doing, and I mean everything, the only way for you to release anything, to solve anything, to heal anything, is to reinterpret it.
And then shoot.
Nothing else works. Handing over is okay to get your process into this. Well, I mean handing over by saying, oh, I give this to the Holy Spirit, let him look at it for me, or deal with it for me, or whatever, like, you know. I don't have to look at it. The reason why people do that is because they don't want to look at the self-hate. You see, these two rooms are really everything we love about ourselves, everything we hate about ourselves is in these two rooms. One's the persona, the other's the shadow. One's yin, the other's yang. Okay? So, how do we now deal with these? If we want to become conscious, if we want to sort out these two rooms, what do? Anybody? No. No.
So we have to see what's going on, see it from a larger perspective, see how we're contributing to that split, and then let go.
Yeah, that's very good, right. But a reinterpretation of the two rooms has to come into place. So that means we have to give them new meaning. We have to give them new titles.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be a good title now to give these?
But how is that different than just intellectual, you know, I mean, you read lots of books, you get all these ways of reinterpreting things and all that. How is it different from just intellectualism?
Because who's the thinker?
Mind,
The ego.
The ego.
yeah.
The ego is an intellect.
Mhm.
So for somebody doing A Course in Miracles and they're an intellectual, they're in big trouble.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Because they're really now going to use all that intellect against themselves. They're going to have very good reasons, very good arguments, because they're an intellectual. That's what the intellectual does, to use words to basically reinforce their perception, or reinforce their beliefs, or to reinforce their whatever. Okay, so the smarter you are, all right, it means you're going to have to be smarter to outfox yourself.
So this is better.
Smarter what?
To outfox yourself. So, the cure for this, or how to heal this, came from probably the greatest intellectual of all. Who is?
JC?
Einstein.
I'll go God. I'll put it God.
Not Aristotle.
No. So, very clever way now of dealing with these two rooms. Okay, you see, the way this works is you're not going to give up a belief system until you have a more valuable belief to replace it with.
Do what?
A more valuable belief to replace it with. So people don't leave one church and go to another church. Find the church first. So they leave this and go, I'm going here. They already know where they're going. Okay? So what that means is, right, we have to reinterpret these two, not try to make them one, which is they're going to end up. So what we're doing now, we're doing a step with this, and then this is going to become into oneness. So what's the step? We reinterpret. How can you reinterpret right and wrong, or good and bad?
You see the two sides of a coin?
Yeah.
You
So
can't
what would
separate
be
one from the other.
what would be the perfect coin now to put into the reinterpret?
A coin
Where
with-
the effect will be one. That both sides will be the same. You're on the right track, right?
Sounds like
Excellent.
Sounds like a Moebius strip, the kind of thing that goes around. It's one-sided.
No. It's two thoughts.
Holographic?
No, it's still two thoughts. You have the thought of good and bad, right and wrong. Okay, which is four thoughts, right? But you know the two
It's the
sums.
same.
So again, I want a thought here and a thought here. So what would, no, the reason why I'm just kind of stretching this out, but this is very important, and I'm trying to slow it down so we can go with it, rather than just writing down the answers.
You mean like the idea that good is evil and evil is good and right is wrong and wrong is right?
Yeah. But this is genius the way this was, with the reinterpret for this.
That they're not different.
Huh?
So the idea, the interpretation.
Would they have the illusion
They have the illusion of being
of
different.
being different?
Right.
But they're really,
But each one creates the other, in other words, so they're mutually interdependent.
Yes, I like it. That intellect's coming to the fore now.
Well, could this tie into our worst nemesis, whether it be person, place, or thing,
Yes.
are our best teachers?
You see, right, you can go through this, you can do this two ways. You can go through a life immersing yourself around guilt, undoing guilt, seeing guilt, blah, blah, blah. You'll only do that if you're buying into the story of guilt. There's another way you do this. It's called reinterpretation and detachment. There's no story anymore. All you're doing is you're detaching from one state of mind, you automatically will go into the other state of mind. See, if you stay in the story's going to envelop your world, it's going to be all around you. So people who believe that they have to do a lot of forgiveness around guilt, they're attaching themselves to this thought of guilt here, all right? Comes in here, and what do you think their world is? All they're going to do is see guilt around them. No, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? Because now it gives them the opportunity to see this guilt and undo it. But imagine doing that for the rest of your life. Because that's what they're going to do, because they're not letting the story go. As long as you keep the story, the guilt's in the story. So it's like, I'm in a story, and there are parts of the story I want to keep because I was special in the story. But when you have specialness, you're always going to have guilt because that's the other side of the coin. Okay? So everybody that you make special, there's guilt hidden behind it. You can't have one without the other.
So when you say keep, could you interchange the word believe?
Yeah.
As long as you believe the
Yeah.
story. And
Yeah. So what you need to do is be willing to come out of the story, and now you can look at the thoughts in the story. So the reinterpretation of this is this, right? Now, this room becomes what's true. This room becomes what's false. Or what's illusion. Okay? We look out into the world now, and we see what's false, and we see what's true. Now, I can see your cobwebs going there, right? You see how that's basically the same.
Well, when you have all these judgments, like if you think some things are beautiful, then other things will be ugly by definition. If you think some things are good, other things will be evil. So the more we create good, the more we create evil.
Yes.
So once you see that they're both dividing the world up, you can't get rid of evil if you're creating good.
Yeah.
If you're trying to promote good. So if you see all that clearly, you start to withdraw some of your energy from that whole
Right.
split.
Exactly. But you can see now how these two are the same. Can't you?
Well, in one sense.
Tell me.
They seem the same to me.
Because if I put everything that's true in this room. Okay? So that means this room fills with light, say. Alright? And then let's say I bring in an illusion and I say, right, I'm going to make this into two rooms. So I'm going to put everything that's dark here in this room, and I'm going to put everything that's light in this room. What happens? What happens to darkness?
Well, it's boxed in somewhere.
There is no. Lightness can't come in. Or sorry, darkness can't come into light.
But light can come into darkness.
Oh yeah. So let's say that this, right, is one room, okay? And there's a dividing, and this room is full of light, and this room's full of darkness. Or this, what's true and what's false, and you can't see the false. What do you see?
All you
Only what's
see,
true.
all you see is light.
All you see is what's true.
Did you say darkness cannot come into light?
Have you tried it?
Yeah, I believe I have observed that happening. Like
Okay.
when you take someone who's innocent and they become polluted by dark ideology.
Okay.
Atlantis is an example of that. It was a civilization that
Yeah.
started out very light and at the end became incredibly dark.
When you bring in darkness to light, the darkness disappears. Darkness can't interact with light. You can bring darkness into false light, but you can't bring darkness into true light. When you take light into darkness, the darkness disappears.
Okay, then how do you explain what happened in Atlantis, which was a civilization that went from highly evolved to extremely
And you know this?
dark? Yes,
You were there?
yes.
Okay.
I remember it.
I don't have any experience with Atlantis.
Yeah, well, what happened is dark forces came and infiltrated.
But you see, this is exactly what we're talking about. Where was the dark forces?
I believe.
No, you
Yeah.
see, here was the dark force. You had the good forces here, you had the dark forces here. Both
Yeah.
were illusions. That's
They were
all.
illusions.
As in the thoughts that we have, as in our lovely, nice thoughts that we have about ourselves and other people, are they true? Absolutely not. Is the false or the wrong thoughts that we have about people, are they true?
False.
Absolutely not. So you can see here, there's nothing, basically, when this mind is split, there's absolutely nothing that's true here. So let's use this now. Let's say, all right, I say to you, say the relationship you had with your mother or your father. Okay. Maybe it was, parts of it was good, parts of it was bad. There were things that they did right and there were things they did wrong. Doesn't everybody agree with this?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, can you reinterpret that now to what's true and false in that relationship?
It's just another judgment.
No,
No?
but it's good judgment.
Hmm.
Because now you're looking for reality. What was actually true in this? Because what you're doing is, you're not going to let go all your projections, all your judgments, all your grievances about these people until you realize what was true and what was false. So what was true in our relationships with our parents?
Nothing.
No? What is true in every relationship, and the only thing that's true in every relationship that we have is the love. Everything else is completely made up. It's the ego. We think. That's a laugh, if you think about it. We don't think. The ego thinks for us. And the ego is very judgmental, very wrathful, very gentle, or vengeful, very irritated, very annoying. So just think about all those. If you write down, and we'll be doing it a little, if we have time later on, I'm going to write them all down, all the attributes of the ego. And I'm bloody sure, right, that you could add every one of them into me and say, yes, I'm that, yes, I'm that, yes, I'm that, yes, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that. Yes, I'm a little bit irritated, yes, I'm a little bit annoyed. That's not you. That's the ego. That's all the thoughts that belong to the ego. But we think there are thoughts, so therefore We take those thoughts as our own, and thoughts lead to emotions, and now we experience all these emotions, and they're not even bloody our thoughts. You see the insanity?
So whose thoughts are they?
They belong to the ego thought system. Okay, there's only two thought systems. One is God, one is the ego. And only one of those is real. So what we're asked to do now in the world, to transcend these three bottom relationships, we have to detach from them. We have to detach from our relationship and our attachment to the body. We have to detach from our relationship to the world. And we have to sort this mind out, the split mind out. So how do we do all of that? We now reinterpret everything that we see and feel and taste as either true or false. And here's the key. Everything that's false is going to hurt you. Just if you can't just get it. All right? If you're just not sure what's true or false,
What do you mean hurt?
your body will tell you. You'll have physical pain. You'll have emotional pain. You'll have psychological pain. All of those are telling you what you're experiencing is not true. You don't have to look for somebody to blame. Remember, when we experience pain in the body, our first reaction is to blame someone. Isn't that true? We look for a reason, we look for a cause, and it's either the body, yeah, it's either the world, or it's either somebody in the world. Isn't that the three causes?
Old age.
The body. That's what it said. The body. You know,
Oh, okay.
you know, the body, well, we're going to blame the body. So we're always looking for somebody to blame. If you're sick, who's to blame? Was the food I ate? Maybe it's my bedroom's cold. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. You know.
That's the world.
Huh?
That's the world.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, so, you know, it's either the world or the people in the world or our own body. Those are the three primary that we're going to blame for everything. So we have to get out of that conditioning. Okay? We have to start reinterpreting the pain that you feel in the body, Jody. Remember we were talking about it earlier on? All right, reinterpret the pain. You know, don't rationalize it. If you rationalize it, you keep the pain. Everything that you rationalize negative, you keep it. Everything you rationalize positive, you lose it. Isn't that amazing how that works, isn't it? So, the reinterpretation of these first three relationships is what's needed here. We have to reinterpret everything that's true and false in the world, and everything that's true and false within our own environment or relationships in our own mind. So tell me one thing that's true in this world.
Love.
Where's the love?
It's not a material thing. I can't point to it. I can't hold it. I can feel it.
Where's the love in your relationship? Because love, there's only one. We have different love for our parents, we have love for our children, we have a different love for our friends, we have a different love for our intimate relationships. We split love up, we fragment it. We do it with everything. And we put we put a different value on it all, okay?
Yeah.
And then we treat everybody different in that. You know, we'll have demands, we'll have expectations, we'll have needs, we'll have desires. So it fragments all up again. So love's supposed to be one, it's supposed to be total, it's supposed to complete. So there's only one thing that's true in this world. It's the unconditional love that we give to each other.
Unconditional, right. That's why I said you forgot our pets. They seem to be the best at the unconditional love.
So the only thing that's true in this world is not. So the only thing that you truly give to anybody is your unconditional love. Everything else is an illusion of giving.
But which of us has unconditional love? Do we?
In abundance.
You?
In abundance. Okay? We all are unconditional love. We were created as unconditional love. We're perfect as unconditional love. Where our enlightenment is the enlightenment of unconditional love. But we keep covering it up, we suppress it, we deny our true self, our higher self, our Christ self, our divine self, and we throw all of that away, i.e. the prodigal son. Alright, and we come here and we get into a body, and we're screwed the moment that happens. Because we're going to get sicker, we're going to get weaker, and we're going to get more fearful and more guilty as life goes on. It's a prison sentence from the moment you're born. Every one of us. And that you have to be truthful with this. If you're still at the point, oh, well, the world's not so bad. You know, you're basically screwed for another lifetime at least. So, you know, if you don't want to wake the fuck up, alright, if you don't want to wake up and, you know, start this right now, then you're coming back here to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. So, how are we fixed for time? So, anybody any questions on that before now we move on to the next one?
So we, go ahead.
We're gonna talk more about how to reinterpret our thoughts, our good thoughts and bad thoughts.
We'll be doing that. We'll not be doing it today because over the 6 classes, right, everyone was basically lined up. Today was just basically revealing and uncovering all of these relationships we have. Remember I asked the question and everybody kind of went straight away, oh, I have a relationship with this person, that person, and all of that. Forget about all of that. You have a relationship with the body, you have a relationship with the world, and you have a relationship with the split mind. Anybody that wants to wake up, that's where you need to do the work. Those 3 relationships, you need to know them inside out. How they work with each other. Okay? What's the mechanism in there? You need to know projection, you need to know judgment, and you need to know detachment. I'll just give a quick reinterpretation of that, but we'll be coming back to that later on in other classes to get a real more in-depth with the tools to deal with that.
Can I go to Ireland?
No, I was there for like a month and a half.
Okay, folks, welcome back. I just want to finish this off because I was talking to Jody on the break there, and I just wanted to clear a little thing up. We had a discussion, and it's about, you know, the reinterpretation of what of good and evil and right and wrong. You see, the problem with the world is at the moment they're looking for what's true inside what's right. They're looking for what's true, what's inside what's false. They're looking for what's true inside what's good. Okay? Alright?
Rather than beyond the 2?
Yes. Because the only thing that's really true from the highest level is everything that's basically changeless. So when you look out into the world, and I'm talking about everything in the world, what's changeless?
Nothing.
Spirit.
Love, nothing in this world, just love.
Is there anything else? Everything.
Taxes.
Well, they change all right, they just
So-
get worse and worse.
What I'm talking about here is if you go into a concept of what you think is something that's true and or good, and you're looking for what's true inside it, you get lost. And that's what everybody's doing with theology and philosophy and intellectualization and everything. You have to stand back from that and really look at this from the whole, not from inside any part. There's no part here that's true over any other part. Either everything here is either true or everything's false. Yeah?
On the world of form?
Yep.
It's like right or wrong, good or evil, true or false.
Yeah. The only statements that you can make is we are all guilty, or we are all perfect, or we are all eternal. It has to be whole. A truth is anything that includes everything. It's an unbreakable truth. It can't be broken. So when you start off any of your sentences and you say we, and you include everybody, and no one's excluded, then that is the basis of a single truth. So the ultimate truth that we are here is we are one. That's a truth that the ego is trying to disprove at every single minute of our existence here. The eyes do it, the body does it, pain does it, our judgments, our projections. Everything here points that we're all separate. Okay?
That's why we can't perceive truth on this level.
That's right. Okay? Because there's nothing true on this level when you look at it from this level. Okay? So anything that's true must include everybody. Can't turn around and say, I am enlightened. I'm not enlightened. We are enlightened. Enlightenment is the one mind that we all share. I can't turn around and say, I am happy. We are happy. So when you move this, take the I out of the picture and move into the we. See, the ego's me. Christ is we. God is we. Your higher self is we. You have no more self-interest. What is good for someone else is good for you, and what's good for me is good for someone else. That has to be the way that your motivation now for everything you do in this world comes from. So if you're kind of indecisive about something, whether you should do it or you should not, just ask yourself, is this good for everyone? And it's the same with our thoughts. If you're having a thought, does this thought include everybody? If it doesn't include everybody, it's not true. So I could turn around and say, you know, Diane, you're not a very nice person. Is that thought true?
Not usually.
He really loves you. He really loves you. But let's say I say that to Diane, okay, and you're doing this work now, okay, so what do you do with that? You have a choice. Everything comes down to choice. So I say to you now, you're not a very nice person, all right? Your task here now is to assess that thought, right, and give it validation. Is it true or false?
False.
Undoubtedly. Why?
Because
it doesn't include
everyone.
everyone. Any thoughts that you have about yourself, if it doesn't include everybody, it's not true. Isn't that a beautiful reinterpretation?
Oh, then maybe it is true
What?
that I'm not a nice person. Because that would include everyone.
Mm-hmm. But you see now, you're not physically separating yourself or isolating yourself, even if you turn around and say everybody's not nice. It's far more truer than saying that you're not nice, or I'm not a nice person.
So if someone says, Roy, you forgot to do the dishes, I can say, everybody forgot to do the dishes.
Good, that's good.
Because all over the world, right? If you've forgotten it, you could say, well, there are 8 billion people, say blah, blah, blah. So you could say that there's at least 100 million people that have forgot to do the dishes.
Yeah, blame them.
And at one stage there was only 100 million people in the world. So there you could say, at one stage in this world, everybody forgot to do the dishes.
I like that.
So as long as the thought encompasses everybody.
Yes.
The thought
And,
is,
yes. And even though that you have the thought that we are all guilty, it is true. Because we all believe we're guilty. But it includes everybody. So now it's coming from the basis of a truth. Okay? So anything that you put into what's true must include everybody.
Everybody owes me a living.
But Michael, doesn't it depend upon levels? I mean, on this level, we could say everyone is guilty.
Yes, and everyone is.
If we're looking at who we really are,
Yes.
no one is guilty.
Yeah. But I'm only dealing with this level 1 at the moment because that's where we're at here. Okay? We'll deal We're going on up to the next one now. We're going up to level 4
Well, then
now.
we would have to say Diana's not a nice person
At this level?
at this level.
Yeah, but for you to reinterpret that now, you have to basically go from good and bad and nice and not nice to what's true and what's false.
But you didn't seem like a very nice person to say that to Diane.
Yeah, yeah, but that's what we're saying. We're all not very nice people.
Right.
Oh, then I wasn't very nice to say
Yes,
that to you, then you weren't very nice to
So
say that to her.
we're all sharing being not very nice
We're
to you.
sharing not very niceness
But
here.
what's the main thing we're sharing?
Oneness?
Wholeness. Honesty.
Oh, yeah.
Truth. You know. So you're far better, instead of turning around and saying we're all innocent, you're far better than turning around and saying we're all guilty because we believe we're guilty.
Right.
They're
It's
not
just a
some
belief,
people
yeah.
guilty. And you look at your own personal life. Who's guilty in your personal life?
Well, some are more guilty than others.
Some are more.
Roy's got a special list.
And that's good. And that's good. Because it's that type of honesty that we need to start with. You know, we have to get, I remember Ken Wapnick talking about it all the time, we have to get in touch with all the hate first. You can't go around and say you're love and you're love. All you're in denial is your denial of the guilt.
Yeah.
Your denial of what's wrong, what's bad. You know, you're in denial of what's good and what's right. It's all denial. So you're far better starting that way and being honest to yourself, which is, you know, I like some people and some people are guiltier and all of that. That's a great place to start. But then you reinterpret that now. So what does that include? We. So now you can take out the yous in all your grievances and all the stories that you have and replace them with we. That's true. Okay? What's false is that there can be a single individual person on this planet guilty and everybody else not being guilty, or vice versa.
So that's the either or mind.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to undermine.
Yes.
If everybody's guilty and everyone's good, okay.
They're both truths.
Then we start, we
Yeah.
won't react as much to other people
Yeah.
because we see them both in each
Yeah,
person.
because we're coming now from the mindset of oneness.
The commonality.
Yes, not from unity, not from separation.
And we're also to blame and we're also innocent just like
Yeah.
everyone else.
You see, the body is primed to come from separation, from individuality, from uniqueness. All right, so everything then that it does and sees is coming from individuality. So it'll see individual, unique, guilty people in this world. It'll see individual, unique, special people in this world. But what it's doing is it's always reflecting back its individuality, because that's what the body is. It's unique. There's no other body that looks like my body. There's nobody else looks like me. Nobody else thinks like me. This is the way we all think, isn't it? So therefore, that's what we all see. We see all these other individual bodies, fragments all around us. Okay? So we have to reinterpret that, because the body now can be used to facilitate learning. That's the only true function of the body. That's what Jesus says in the Course. And the way we do that now is we use the perception of good and bad and right and wrong. We use that perception, we become aware of everything, and now we reinterpret. So
That's
the
good,
body
really.
now changes alliances. Instead of working for the ego anymore, now the body works for a new mind. And what's the new mind that starts working for?
It's non-judgmental.
It's the right mind, the non-judgmental mind. And that's where we're going to move to now. So again, we'll just use the levels on this here, which will correlate over here. So So,
Ego and,
external.
oh,
Okay? So here's how this works. On level 1, you have the split mind, you have the body, and you have the world. Okay? On level 2, you have the right mind, the true right mind. So what's in the true right mind?
Holy Spirit.
What's true? And that's what we've been talking about. Remember we were reinterpreting? Remember we were reinterpreting these two down here? What's right, what's wrong, what's good and bad, yeah?
Right.
Okay? Now, we're looking from this mind here. We've got into this mindset. Now we're looking at everything here through what's true. Because we're coming from a place, a mindset that can see the truth.
what's
Can
true is
see
that
what's
which applies to everyone and everything.
Yes. Because everything down here now is one. Okay, so what we're doing when you move back into the mind, the true right mind, you're moving back in just before the Big Bang.
Before the split.
Before the fragmentation, the split, all of that. So, here's how it works. All right. You are here. Right. So when you choose something and you're here, this is your personality. And let's say this is level 3 up here. Right. One, two, three. Okay. So you're here. And there's tools that's going to get you to here. So once we get to here, now we start looking at the truth. What's true? You see, as long as we stay here, we can't see the truth. We can only see what's right and wrong and what's good and evil. Yeah? So we have to find a way of getting to a new level, transcending this level of awareness into a higher state of consciousness, and now we look through the true right mind. So here's the key. This is the state of non-judgment, non-judgmental, which means now that you're severing your attachments to everything that's right and wrong and good and bad. Yeah? So, you're becoming more centered on level 2. Yeah? Here's what happens. Let's say someone you haven't seen for about 20 years, 30 years, and you really hated that person. All right? As a child or whatever. Maybe they bullied you or whatever. But you buried it away, you locked it away in your mind, and it's been forgotten about. So now all of a sudden you're in the true right mind, and you're now looking to sever all attachments. So this comes to you because that's what your mind's creating. Now your willingness is, I want to let all attachments go. So what happens is they come out of the woodwork. All right? So here you are, you're sitting there in your lovely space, and all of a sudden you see this person here. All right? And you're attached to them. And the moment you see them, you lose that, you go here, and you're straight back down here. That's how attachments work. Okay? You're attached to hate with this person. Hate exists here. Yeah? Hate doesn't exist here. There's nothing here. This is all external. The moment that you're tempted here, all of this is really here. So the hate's here, so the minute you attach yourself to the hate here, it brings you down into here. So that's why if you ever have a thought about someone you didn't like, all of a sudden just feel your energy. You'll feel that energy. It's not nice. Why? Because you've just descended down into here. The thought that you had brought you to this level again. You're in the bad room. And the bad room is full of all kinds of negative energy. It's everything that we don't like about ourselves, everything we don't like about other people, and even the people we don't like, we stick them in there. The problem is when you put someone into the bad room, you go with them yourself. So where you put your brother, if you put your brother to hell, you're going in front of him. So you can take your brother to hell or you can take your brother to heaven. That's the choice we all have. But that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about here now is at this level, basically now, anything external to you, you must cease searching outside yourself.
So the best revenge is to not react.
No. The best revenge is not to react. No, that would be the ego.
It is a joke, at any rate.
All right, sorry. Sorry, I'm gonna have to get used to you, right? Like,
Everybody does.
so,
Step ahead.
right. So here is now I want to talk about the relationship that you have with the right mind. Okay, how you're going to perceive the world and how you're going to basically interact. You have to prepare yourself for this, because you're not going to, this key here is you're going to be up and down and up and down. And if you think of it, you've probably been up and down without you realizing it. But there have been times where you felt really, really, peaceful and joyful and blissful. And then there's times you felt this also hell. Okay? So what this is really all about is becoming here. When you're here and you are attached to nothing down here, when you're basically constantly here all the time, what happens is this disappears, and you enter here. Okay? But you're not going to...
Say that again, I blanked out on that.
Right.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
For a period of
So you're
time.
saying be vigilant?
No, the process is this, right?
Okay.
You're going to be up and down and up
Right.
and down, and that's good, because everything that brings you down, you're attached to. You'll feel the energy in your body. You'll feel it's not a nice place. First thing you should look for now is, why am I here? What am I attached to? What brought me to here? Deal with that, and bingo, you're back up again. Because the attachments of hate and guilt, if you think about it, are really, really heavy and dense thoughts. And they can't come up here. They're at the very lowest. So when you're attached to one of those thoughts of guilt or hate or whatever, right, think about it around your waist, down your ankle, ball and chain. And every time it just keeps dragging you down every time. And we have to find a way of cutting that ball. And we have a number of ball and chains. So when you let all those attachments go, you naturally ascend and become settled in this mind. Then you're going to be tested. Like I was saying to Jenny, you could have a person and you've always wanted to be with this person or this type of person or whatever. But this person is a symbol of specialness. All right? Could be a person, it could be an object, could be something. But it's a funny thing, like, since I woke up, everything I ever dreamed about getting came to me. And I realized I didn't want it. I made a choice because I seen what it symbolized. It symbolized basically the ego. So the ego tenses, and this is good because we have to reinforce that there's nothing we want from the ego. There's nothing we want on this level anymore. So this is good. So it'll solidify and it'll validate where we are, and we keep making choices. You'll keep getting opportunities. Remember Jesus in the desert with the 3 temptations? That's what this was all about. Jesus was being tempted by the devil to choose this. And you're going to be the same when you ascend up here. But see it as good, because the ego is now basically helping you to become the person you truly are. If the ego wasn't in this whole setup, all right, how would we grow and learn? It's the ultimate game show that you're in.
That's
Right, for the intellectual.
Uh-oh.
Right? The ego is a master of disguise and deception.
That's right.
That's the way, and I would love you to look at this now. Take the ego on as a test. Seek out its defenses, seek out its little tricks, seek out its little deceptions. Get away from the story of sin, guilt, and fear. You see, Jesus says in the Course this, you cannot, to the ego, to undo it means to destroy it. You can't destroy these things because it's a thought, and it's a thought that belongs to you. No thought that you have can be destroyed because it's a part of you, and no part of you can be destroyed. Yeah? But what you do have, you have the ability to dream all types of thoughts. And I love that line where he says in the Course, he says, just because you dream it, it doesn't mean it's real. But we think our dreams are real. And we can do anything in these dreams. So that's the difference between reality and dreaming. Okay? The only way that separation or the thought of separation could manifest itself was inside a dream. Yeah?
But the self in the dream is an illusion.
Yes.
And it can be destroyed because it isn't real.
No, not destroyed.
Well, it can disappear.
Reinterpreted. It must be reinterpreted. Nothing can be destroyed. So when you're trying to destroy something, what are you doing? You know, if I was sitting outside your house now with a big cannon pointed at your house and I'm saying I'm going to destroy your house, what am I doing?
You're acting insanely.
You're taking aim.
Resistance.
No, you're just changing, it's like Einstein said, there, you can't,
But
matter
what,
can,
what am I simply doing? Like, if a neighbour has seen what I was doing,
Call the police.
why? Because I'm going to,
Destroy my house.
which is attack.
Which is an opportunity.
What's the
for
problem with
Diane.
attack? The
Well,
ego
just-
just loves it.
Because force creates an equal
Yes.
but opposite resistance.
Bring it on, the ego
Yeah.
saying, bring it on. That's the truth.
So if you get if you attack, you get attacked.
Of course.
Okay, so how do you reinterpret that?
Reinterpret.
Wanting to attack your house?
Well, that's a call for love. For a start. It's not true. There's many ways
You
to do
should
it.
bring him a plate of
But
cookies.
what it means here is to destroy anything is to attack it. That's what Jesus really meant in that line. And if you're going to take the ego on in a battle, like Roy is saying, you're going to put a lot of energy into that battle, and all you're doing is fighting with yourself because all that energy comes straight back to you in resistance, and you believe now the ego is fighting with you. The ego's not fighting with you. You're fighting with yourself. So it has to be reinterpreted. Yeah? Everything that's false has to be reinterpreted. You can deny it, you can rationalize it, you can suppress it, you can displace it, you can sublimate it, you can do all kinds of things with it. But it must be reinterpreted. Everything has to be reinterpreted. So the ego is a thought system of fear and guilt. How do you reinterpret it? You turn it into a thought system of love. So now the ego basically is helping us to empower ourselves by testing us. I'm going to come back to this at the very end. We did metaphysics in the first one, and where the end, or sorry, where the beginning is, that's also where the
For the end is.
yeah. Beginning
You
and
kinda
the alpha
said
and the
it, yeah.
omega and the omega are one. So what we're going to do is the last class that we're going to be doing here, we're going to be finishing off.
And it's in February, you mean?
February, I think it is.
Yeah, February.
Yeah,
February
February.
13th.
So, you know, what I'm saying here is the whole thing's going to go for full circle. You know, so we come down the ladder and we're going to go back up the ladder. So everything has to be reinterpreted on the way. Every illusion has to be reinterpreted. And the way that you do that is it true or is it false?
Just asking ourselves that question,
Yeah, but
when it happens, when the
Just
any
look
thought
for
comes
it.
in, good or bad, is it true?
when you're waking up on this level, you're going to see what's true and what's false. And that's why you're going to have so much peace, because you're not going to fall for the deceptions or the, you know, the skullduggery of the ego anymore, because you're going to be fully aware of what everything means. There's one line in the Course that Jesus says over and over, more than any other line. What is this for? What's the body for? What's its purpose? What's the world for? What's its purpose? What's the mind for? What's its purpose? Everything has a purpose. If it doesn't have a purpose, it doesn't exist. So everything that does exist must have a purpose. It has to have meaning. Yeah?
Wait. Is this from the point of the ego? Are you speaking from the point of the ego?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm from truth. I
In
mean,
other
the
words,
whole,
the ego says everything has to have a purpose.
no, but everything that, no, this is what Jesus is saying in the Course.
Oh.
That everything must have a purpose, or everything has a purpose within. So the ego has a purpose for everything, and the right mind has a purpose for everything.
Got it.
So let's look at purpose just for a second to clarify that. Let's look at the ego's perspective. From the ego's perspective, what's the purpose of the world?
The schoolhouse.
From the ego?
Not from the ego, that's from the soul.
No, that's what it said. From the ego has a purpose, right?
Keep us in separation by projecting all of our shit.
Yeah. What?
That came out fast.
Nicely said.
See, she isn't nice.
We have witnesses.
Whoa, she had that on the tip of
I
her
The
know,
purpose
she
of
knew
this
that one.
world for the ego is to keep us unconscious and asleep and in slavery. And then I would like to add what Diane said without repeating it. Okay. But that's the main purpose for this world, for the ego. So what's the purpose for this world for spirit?
Awakening.
Yes.
Freedom.
Everything here now that hurts you can be used now to help your awakening. So what's the purpose of the body?
It's a vehicle for experience.
Of?
Of
For the
duality.
ego.
Of
For the
duality.
ego.
Yeah, of duality.
Yeah.
Ego.
The ego's purpose for the body is that now the mind, the split mind of the ego of right and wrong, good and bad, the body will confirm it in the world. So the mind actually now, the split mind of the ego, basically now becomes manifest inside the body, and the body starts to see good and bad, right and wrong, in everything, even in the body itself. So if the ego didn't have the body and didn't have the world, then it couldn't experience itself in the mind, the split mind. Remember, thoughts can experience nothing by themselves. Think about that for a second. A thought cannot experience anything by itself. It needs two things. What are the two things?
It's the body.
Yep. And the world.
in the world.
And that's how the ego manifests itself in the world. And when I'm talking about the ego manifesting itself in the world, I'm talking about the ego mind of good and evil and right and wrong. Okay? So everything has a purpose. What's the purpose of guilt?
To stop you from doing bad stuff again.
Do you really believe that?
Absolutely.
No.
There's nothing that's going to guarantee you to keep doing bad stuff as your guilt.
No, my guilt stops me from doing
No.
that stuff.
No,
No.
no.
It
There's
keeps you
nothing
feeling, keeps you feeling
Yeah, it's
bad
nothing.
about yourself.
You see, don't get mixed up between thinking, doing, and saying. You might stop yourself from doing bad things, but you definitely don't stop yourself from thinking bad things.
That's true.
And that's
So
what
therefore, what you say and what you do means nothing. It's what you think.
I think.
That's the content. Form, effects mean nothing.
Nothing so blinding.
Okay, so you can come in here and someone could come in and shower you with all beautiful words and tell you how wonderful they are, you all are, and how beautiful you all are, and all of this. Okay? And you'll go away and you'll think, oh, what a lovely man. Oh, it's just great.
Invite them back.
Yeah, and I come in then and I say to you how guilty you all are, how hateful you all are, how big a piece of shit you all are.
You got that from you, Diane.
So I don't need...
He's using bad words now.
I don't need to tell you what you're going to think of me and what room I'm in. So you can see now, right? Anybody can basically pull the wool over anybody's eyes in this by saying anything or doing anything. That's the ego.
And the ego buys into it.
Of course. You know,
look
look
really
at the
nice.
evangelists on TV. You know? Sure, everybody buys into it. Like, you know, it's the greatest deception of all. Everybody buys into it. Like, you know. So don't ever get fooled by what you say or do. You must question every single motive of why you do anything. Because you're only doing it for two reasons. One of two reasons. What are they? And you can't be doing it for any other.
Everything you do.
Yes.
How do you do that?
Huh? For the ego or for God? There's only two emotions, fear and love. So when you're doing anything, is it fear or love that you're doing it? There's no neutral between that. It's very clearly, it's selfish, me, or it's shared, we. Okay, the reason and the motivation behind everything we do in the world comes from our persona. Because we want to be liked. And that gets us into a lot of trouble. We'll walk out of a bank and we'll just slap the door. All right, Randall. Okay, so, you know, in all in this, really, it comes down to content in the mind. That's where you can change. That's where only change can happen is in the mind, not in behavior. Don't try to be good. Right at the beginning of the Course, Jesus says that. Don't change your behavior. Everybody who's doing A Course in Miracles, what's the first thing they do? Change their behavior. They all try to be good. Okay? That's the worst thing you can do, because all you're doing now is covering up the hate and you're putting it deeper and deeper inside you. Okay? The true Course in Miracles student is someone who could stand up and say, I'm a piece of shit. I'm the most disgusting thing that's on this planet. I hate everybody that's in this fucking world, and I hate my fucking self. I hate God. I hate the fucking ego. Now, that's a great place to start. If you start from any other place. You see, the problem is this. This is the ego right mind. Alright? Ego right mind. This is the ego wrong mind. Alright? Everybody that's doing A Course in Miracles is doing it from here. Everybody that buys the book, everybody goes into the store, everybody. So that means they're in here because they're denying the bad room here with all the shit, all the guilt, all the fear and everything. So what they're trying to do, they're trying to go to here without dealing with this. And they can't do it. Why? Because they're not getting in touch with this room first. They're wrapped up in the specialness in this room. Okay, so...
Even though intellectually they know there's no specialness.
Intellectually speaking, they know nothing. Because the intellect is the ego. Okay? The ego can think it knows. The difference between these two minds is this. This mind knows, and this mind thinks it knows. Knowing is when you have a direct experience. Think you knowing is everything you've read in a book, everything you've learned at school, everything you have seen on Discovery Channel.
And what's direct? Like
when you experience it.
the hate?
So, do you know hate? Well, you better get to know it. I'm being serious. If you really want to wake up, you want to get to know these things. Because you need to bring all the shit into awareness. We need to look at it. That's what Ken Wapnick said all the time. Look at the ego. If I had a penny for every time Ken said that. So how do we look at the ego? You, in this second now, any one of you can be in that there if you just simply do this. Alright? And this is the hardest thing that we all find to do. So let's say the hit that I see in you, Diana. Hit. Alright? It's mine. It belongs to me. Now, if I'm looking at my head, it's my ego. All right, I can't be my ego. I have to be looking from here. When I'm denying the shit that I see in you, or the hate that I see in you, I am here. I'm not looking at the ego anymore. I'm looking at your ego, which is,
Hate.
no,
It's yours.
she doesn't have an ego. There's only one ego. And if I see it, I got it. If I react to it. Okay? There's only one ego thought system.
Mm-hmm.
Alright? So when I deny my ego and I talk about your ego's not very nice. You know, that's my ego I'm talking about. I'm in denial. Here I am here. However, when I can turn around and see you saying something that's not very nice and something that's not very sociable or whatever, right? I look at that and I react to it. And I go, wow, I have to heal that because that's me. I reacted to it and I'm here. That's how simple it is to get to this point. A simple little truth like the shit that I see in you is mine. All of a sudden, you're here. That's why I'm saying to you, get in touch with the hate first. What's everybody who's doing A Course in Miracles doing? Jody, you're an angel. You're perfect.
Bullshit.
You're love. You are the light of the world.
I don't believe one word you're
Never
saying.
do I. You know why? Because there's no you. It's either we.
Yeah,
We
because you
are.
didn't use the we.
But how many people teaching A Course in Miracles and other things manage to do this?
Like I wondered when Diane, I forget her exact sentence, like I'm a
Piece of
piece
shit.
of, oh, that was it. So I'm a piece of shit. I wondered why you didn't say to her, aren't we all?
I wanted, but I wanted
You
this
know,
to be
who
her.
died me? You're so special, you know?
Exactly. So, what I say to people now, start here. Get in touch with the hate, the guilt, the fear, and everything. Take ownership of it all. Really start from there. There's only one way you can go from there. You try to start from this ego right mind, which sees itself as better than this one, so that one's down there, and this one puts itself up there because it's more special, it's more religious, it's more spiritual, and knows more than everybody else. So basically what we do is we bury this down here, and we try to now go up to here. And that's why people can't do it when they're doing A Course in Miracles. You have to get and look at the shit. And the only way you're going to get and look at the shit is by not giving it to the Holy Spirit.
Here, you take this
What I mean by that, we look at it before we give it to the Holy Spirit. Alright? Because when you hand something over to the Holy Spirit and just say, oh, I'm just going to give that to the Holy Spirit. You haven't looked at the meaning, you haven't looked at the source, you haven't looked at where this comes from, you haven't looked what this symbolizes about you. But you know what it is? It's a thought that you're attached to. The Holy Spirit can't take it away from you until you see the truth in it. The Holy Spirit will give you peace, it'll give you a higher understanding and help you to see that. But ultimately, the Holy Spirit, the right mind, is helping you to see the truth.
I believe that I am one of the most honest people I know about looking at my shit. That's what I believe. I'm constantly looking at it, feeling it, acknowledging it. And I'm constantly attempting to give it to the Holy Spirit, but some of the stuff has not budged at all.
Right.
So is that because I'm attached to it on some level? Do I believe it's...
Well, if it's
there-
not budged, you could really, I could positively tell you now you're attached to it.
Okay,
Yeah.
but why would I want to be attached to this yucky, shitty
Because
stuff?
what you're doing here is you're trying to keep the story but get rid of some of the things in the story. So what I would say to you is this is, if you get time, I'll do a little 10 minutes with you
I would
just to
love
see
that.
that because you see, another problem is this, you see, every memory you have is a story. And inside that story, you're in it and other people are in it. And you're the actor in that story. So you have given yourself a specific role in the story, and that role could be, I'm a victim.
And so I have attachment to being a victim.
Now, in the story, you have a victimizer, because you can't be the victim without having someone to victimize you. So, in the story then, what we want to do is, right, we don't like this victimizer, we want to sort this out, blah, blah, blah. But the one thing that you're not doing is you're not willing to let the story go. This
Why? Is there payoff in that keeping the story?
Of course there is.
What's the payoff?
The ego keeps you in the state of mind you're in.
So the ego is getting a payoff.
It's, yeah.
But at my expense, I'm suffering, but my ego is getting off on this.
Well, you could put it like that, all right.
So what power do I have?
Well, again, like I say, we're only here today to determine all our relationships. In another class, we're going to be going through all the tools to empower you. I forget what class that is. I must look in the break. How do we fix for time?
10 to 1.
Right, okay, then we'll finish up now then, right? So, basically what this is all about is the starting point. Okay? The starting point is in the bad room. Get in touch with all of that first. Don't start in the good room, because you're going to cover up everything that's in the bad room. And that's going to prevent you from getting up to here. So when we come back again in the afternoon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the characteristics of the advanced teacher of God. And that means that the advanced teacher of God is someone who has transcended to this level and is now at this level waiting to transcend to this level. Okay, so they're characteristics. So when we'll go through these characteristics, you'll see yourself in these characteristics. The distance that you have to go from being here to be here. And there's only 10 of them.
10 what?
Characteristics. And it's called the advanced teacher of God. So here, everybody starting on the Course of Miracles will be a teacher of God. Then there's the advanced teacher of God.
Do we get a certificate or something?
I'll see what I can do for you all.
Only the special people.
Yes, you're right. Only the special. Right, we're going to take a break now to get some dinner, and we'll be back whenever we're back. Okay then.